No, just take the audio out entirely. Drop the music out. Drop the music out entirely. There we go. Hi, everybody. I'm Jared, and I'd like to discuss with you your rights and responsibilities in the proper storage and maintenance of cheese. Now, I know that it's not cool to take care of the cheese, but listen to me. I sound cool. Yes, I sound cool, and I take care of the cheese. When taking care of the cheese, you have to remember three very important things. I like to call them the 3 H's. That's head, heart, and small plastic containers. Once again, this has been Jared with an important message about taking care of the cheese. Don't look at me and laugh. This isn't funny. This is serious. And the show will begin in 3 minutes and 17 seconds. How's that, Tom? Those were the best.
That sounds good.
Three Musketeers, because it's not nougat. I don't understand the propensity of putting nougat into these things. I mean, you could have been on the wide, so at least he could have been seen too. You see?
All good. We're just chocolate bars.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Star Citizen Live, Rivers and Tech and Bugs, oh my. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. And joining us on the show, at least for the first half, is community acclaimed river guy. What's happened? I remember...
River guy.
River guy, you sent me a picture of the YouTube comment, they just called me River guy.
Yeah, it was like Riverman has struck again or something.
Was it Riverman or River Guy? I thought it was.
I think it was River Guy. You put River Guy in the event title, so that's as official as it
I
gets.
feel like it was River Guy. All right. So that's all we're talking about today. I just want to let you know that that's it, and take care, everybody. See you. Sorry. He did it. All right. Will, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. How about you?
I'm doing well.
It's funny being here, seeing it all.
This is your first time on this?
Yes, only constant. First time seeing it. It's pretty cool. I like it.
We spent a couple hours having to fix the window yesterday. The window had a technical problem.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a screen, but it is. You can feel the stuff.
Don't dispel the magic.
Sorry, it's a window.
I called it a window.
Window over to New Babbage.
Specifically didn't.
Technical issues with the window. Am I fired?
All right, throw up the thanks for watching. Let's just start it again. Hi, everybody. Take 3. Welcome to Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. And if you've never seen Star Citizen Live before, it's where we take about an hour at the end of our week. And it is true live Vash Spiegel in Twitch chat. It is live. You think we would leave that in if it weren't? So we take about an hour at the end of our week and we hang out. We chat. We talk about us and who we are and what we do, and a little bit of what we put into this wonderful project we call Star Citizen. And sometimes Squadron 42. I'll have some Squadron people on today, I think. Joining us on the show this week is River Guy himself, Mr. Will Hain. How you doing?
Yep, that's me. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Your title is Engine Programmer 3.
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to ask you right off the bat, what makes an Engine Programmer 3 better than an Engine Programmer 2? You know an Engine Programmer 2. I want you to throw that person under the bus. What's an Engine
Honestly,
Programmer 3?
I asked the same question. I think it's roughly years of service, but I think it's like which year of service you're in, because I'm approaching my 3rd year, but it's also like not at the same time. I've not got a clear answer to anyone. It means I'm better than a 2, I guess, depending on who you ask. I'd hope.
Do you know an Engine Programmer 2?
Yeah. I know a couple.
I want you to look in this camera and say, I just said I was better than you.
I just said I was better than you. Right, someone's judgment anyway.
Now, is that real years or game dev years?
So that's here years. And game dev. Well, yeah, game dev years, I guess, if you were coming from somewhere else. But this is my first.
Yeah, game dev years are like presidential years.
Oh.
It's like it may have only been 3 years in a normal calendar.
But it's been 20 game dev
you
years.
See it in the face.
I see my life spread before me.
There isn't a video I make where there isn't at least one person going, "Wow, Disco looks tired." And it's like I got tired once in 2016 and I've never recovered. So it's just welcome to game dev years. Yeah, Phil. Phil's nodding back there. Phil's like, yeah, like Phil has got this 1,000-yard stare back there. He's like, yes, I know what that is. We'll talk to Phil later in the show. All right, so Will, what do you work on for Star Citizen? What is Engine Programmer 3? What does an Engine Programmer do?
Well, engine programmer could be anyone, really. I'm working on the engine, but more specifically, I work on Planet Tech team. There's 4 of us, 5, depending on who you count, and we work on all of the procedural tools, like the rivers, like the planets, like some of the graphicsy stuff, because we're kind of a graphics team, and yet kind of not. But generally, I'd say generically an engine programmer is just going to be working on core tech and kind of like low-level engine stuff. Specifically, I work on the procedural, the building big things from small amounts of data very, very quickly sort of side of things. Yeah.
Such as?
Yeah, such as the planets, such as the rivers. That's what we do. You know, we have these enormous, giant-scale planets that we build from like less than 10 megs of data. And we do it runtime as you fly around them. That's what my team kind of manage and work on and improve and develop new features for.
It's obviously we do Inside Star Citizen every Thursday, and that's where you're going to see the big feature updates and stuff. If you haven't checked out yesterday's episode, all about tremendous new mining improvements that are coming in the next content.
Tanto hablar ahí, dijo dando, no sé qué tal. Ahora vengo.
Goes out. Please. Phil, Ray, any hope? We literally have 2 of the QA managers and the director of QA. I'm like, Where was I going with this?
I don't know. You were going with just like what creatine is, the mining stuff.
But on the Friday show, we like to kick back, we like to talk, we like to just explore a little bit about the people. So Will, who are you? Who are you? We talked about what you do, but who are you?
Bueno, parece que no han dicho nada importante, ¿no? Porque dice who are you, o sea que entiendo que nada.
So I exist purely for Cloud Imperium games. No, I went to uni down in Cardiff where I studied game design and development. I've done programming since I was about 11. I used to use a program called DS Game Maker where you could make very, very bad games and then put them on one of those R4 ROM cards you can put on your DS with a micro SD card in. And that's like my first kind of exposure to programming. But yeah, it just kind of snowballed from there. I really wanted to do music for a long time, but I kind of refused to do it academically because I wanted it to be organic. And then I kind of thought, well, I need to do something that will definitely earn me money so that I can afford to do my music. And I thought, I'm pretty good at programming, so I'll roll with that. I did the course in Cardiff, which was great. And I did a dissertation in planet terrain generation, where I essentially made this GPU-powered planet generator based on ridges and rivers, which would then propagate out to an entire planet. Very bad it was. Anyway, I applied to a couple of jobs kind of a couple months before I was going to graduate. I applied here. Marco, you know Marco, he picked it up, interviewed me, really liked the stuff in the dissertation. It was like, so we're doing something similar, and just brought up New Babbage on this big screen in the interview room, and I was like, yeah, that's cool.
A ver, el Papo dice que hacía música pero que no... Entonces se dedicó al mundo de los videojuegos. Eso es lo que está comentando.
Idea when I was about 11. I wanted to create a game called Infection where you were essentially like a little nanobot flying around in someone's veins shooting like viruses was my concept. Anyway, I spent a very long time in MS Paint making 2D background.
Pero vamos a ver, el tipo este dice, no, yo cuando tenía 11 años y tal quería hacer un videojuego de que tú te metías como una especie de nanobot en las venas de la peña y vas disparando a virus por ahí. Ese era mi concepto. Yo con 11 años no tenía esas ideas, la verdad. Yo creo que no.
You could paint the map down and then you could paint a magenta overlay to show where you wanted collision to happen. So it was literally just, there was no real physics. It was just if you hit the magenta, you bounced back sort of thing. And it was tacky and horrible and terrible. But yeah, that was the first thing I did.
In one of those programs, the games that let you make other games.
It wasn't a game as such. It was made by some other young guy. I think he was like 15 or 16. And it was made in Windows Form. So it was a real program. And the idea was you used, like one...
Yo hace años estaba pensando, mira, que yo ni eso, tío. ¿Qué va? Yo ni eso. Yo no tenía ni... ¿Qué va? Yo no era ni espabilado hasta ese punto, tío. Olvídate.
And so I started like copying events and changing little bits to try and make it do something similar. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just kind of experimented until something.
O sea, para el Twitch solo,
no,
a todo el mundo. No ha sido mi Twitch, ha sido
far too much. But yeah.
Hey, we all get our starts somewhere. So school in Cardiff. The only thing I know about Cardiff is I think that's where Torchwood happened. That show.
Yeah. They filmed Doctor Who and Torchwood, both down in Cardiff. Yeah, capital of Wales. That's only where I went to uni though. I studied up Yorkshire, where I grew up in school, and that's where I did computer science, which was wholly unhelpful.
My paternal grandfather was from Wales. Like that's Huckabee is a Welsh name. Our coat of arms is Welsh. But I've never actually been down there.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, my maternal grandfather, my maternal grandmother is Welsh. And then we've got some other Welshies in the family too, through various other uncles marrying people and stuff. So a lot going on.
A ver, realmente están hablando de dónde era su abuelo, de dónde era su tal, o sea, dónde estudiaban y tal. ¿Creéis necesario que os doble esto, chavales? Yo si queréis os lo doblo, pero...
Planet stuff, and you could conceivably, you're engine programmer 3, you got some skills. I don't mind telling people you got some skills. You could essentially be working on anything you want. Within reason here.
Anything the project demands.
Yeah. But why rivers?
Well, rivers is a funny one. So back to that interview with Marco, when I'm sitting there looking at...
Sí, la verdad es que hoy... Bueno, este pavo, que lo que nos interesa a nosotros, ¿no? Como jugadores, este pavo es el que está haciendo la tecnología de los ríos y tal. Que han puesto ahora, pues, 40 nuevos ríos en el sistema Stanton. Y bueno, pues hemos tenido oportunidad de ver algunos. Es una sorpresa agradable descubrir que realmente pues te los encuentras haciendo alguna misión o alguna movida. Me ha pasado ya, ¿no? De encontrármelos haciendo alguna misión en el aire. Y está curioso.
Shared data and nothing being local, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I started working on a solution to that, and then I said to Marco, this is going really well. I could use this to make rivers. Do you mind if I do? And he said, no, that sounds cool. So I did. That was it was really nice to kind of have that freedom. And obviously I couldn't put that much time into it to start with because it was kind of like a side project. But eventually I remember the first version of it, we deformed the terrain and then raised the ocean to fill the gap. And the ocean it was a real gimmick. It looked really bad. The waves were going the wrong way.
Wrong shader for an ocean.
Yeah, and it was the same mesh, so we had no kind of like control over it or anything really. But it just about worked. And anyway, he showed CR, and we managed to get some time scheduled for it. And that's how I started working on rivers, which is it was really cool to go from saying I want to work on this to it being a feature. And I remember it coming up on the roadmap for the first time and being really excited. I was like, I worked on something that's on the roadmap, and being able to tell people about it. It was cool. I really like the rivers. I still need to.
Claro, están diciendo que el pavo pues aprovechó una tech de terreno y preguntó si podía utilizarla para hacer ríos. Y le dijeron que sí. Y empezó a hacerlo como proyecto de entretiempo. Y pues acabó siendo una feature, ¿no? Una característica. Y que es algo pues que cuando la primera vez lo vi en el roadmap y tal, que se quedó sorprendido, ¿no? O sea, se quedó más que sorprendido, entusiasmado. Estaba entusiasmado de verlo ahí por primera vez.
It has an aptitude in a certain thing, and you have.
O sea, realmente es algo que tiene bueno Cloud Imperium Games. Es el hecho de que le dan bastante rienda suelta a la creatividad, a la iniciativa de los trabajadores. Por eso quizás es la animalada que es el juego, ¿no? A nivel de detalle, a nivel de todo.
It's one of those stories in game development that becomes difficult to tell because without context, it's unorganized.
Yeah.
It sounds
and as well
kind of crazy.
For every one of the that sounds cool, let's give it a go that you proceed with and get a feature out of, there are 100 that sounds like cool. So you don't know when something becomes important. You don't know when something becomes the first time rivers were implemented, or it becomes the first time a feature that we never ever used or never ever explored was tried. So it doesn't. It develops kind of importance and I don't know, storyability by the time it's already important. I don't know if you know.
No, I get what
Trembling over my words.
No, I get what you're saying. Hey, we're gonna do something here. Let's switch to Will's camera, Tom. There you go.
Oh, that one.
Yep. Will, I want you to talk about why you think rivers are important. Chat is going on about some buffering stuff. I'm gonna go check this out real quick.
Oh, cool.
So I'm gonna give you your own camera, and you talk to them about why they should think rivers matter. And I'm gonna be back in a minute. I'm gonna check this out.
Go chat. Rivers. The reason I think rivers are really, really.
Qué cabrón al disco le dice, oye, mira, quiero que le digas a la peña por qué los ríos son importantes mientras me piro un momento. Ahí te quedas.
So everything that has been built around rivers and built to allow rivers to work has generated improvements on the planetary tech itself. So we didn't have terrain modification. We wouldn't have taken that as far if there wasn't as big a mandate as rivers. We didn't have this specific control over what spawns in what area depending on local features. But because we wanted it for rivers, we drove that, and now we can use it everywhere. Hello.
Keep going.
So it's not just a cool feature in a cool location, and it doesn't just kind of add to the realism of the planets and add unique locations that we really didn't have before. It is just a way of not only showing off new development in the planet tech and the procedural tech, but also, a catalyst for generating kind of the need for work and the drive to provide these new features. It's all well saying, well, I want to be able to control specifically at what level all these rocks want to spawn. You say, well, why do we need that control? What feature demands that? But actually what you can say with the rivers, you can say, well, we need it for this. So we make it for the rivers, and now we've got it for everything, and we can use it for all the other locations. And when we start introducing more...
Claro, está diciendo que los ríos no solo son importantes como para añadir realismo al juego y contenido, sino que también a la hora de mejorar lo que son el fluir del desarrollo del videojuego, porque gracias a los ríos se han generado herramientas de control de recursos que se generan alrededor de lo que son los ríos, como rocas, árboles, mierdas y tal, y que eso ahora se puede utilizar también para otras localizaciones.
The spawning system is run by a piece of code called Biome Builder, which I help look after in Planetech. And that has lots of cells across the planet, a grid of cells across the entire planet, each of which have a set of spawn points. Spawn points are usually random, and then they take their properties from the terrain in order to decide what to spawn. On-demand spawn points is a little bit of code that allows us to kind of hook into that and say, we want a spawn point here, we want it right here, and we want an object to appear. And you can even kind of like specify some overridey stuff as well, which is pretty cool. Now that was developed for the rivers and then for the cliffs to allow us to say, well, yeah, we've got all these rules about where we want such and such a rock, but you can't always just cover...
Claro, estaba diciendo que a la hora de los puntos de aparición de los ríos, los nacimientos, las fuentes, pues que pueden generar... ahora pues pueden generar puntos aleatorios de generación para esto, que se adapten las cosas, y también no solo hacerlo para eso, sino también... Puto discolando. Y no solo también para los ríos, sino que también para los acantilados. Gracias a eso, pues ahora también tienen ese tema para los acantilados para que no queden hechos pues para poder hacer ese tipo de geografía, ¿no?
That kind of naturally appear on our planets anyway, we will be able to populate them with the really beautiful cliff meshes. But there's also some rumors and some talks about going a different direction with that and kind of doing more of a technical approach, which I won't spoil. But it will be really cool if we end up doing that. I hope we do. But yeah, the on-demand spawn points are driving it at the moment, and they're really cool.
More of a technical approach.
More of a technical approach. Yeah, GPU-y stuff. I'm not going to spoil. That's not my plan to spoil.
So for those of you who are watching live on Twitch right now, the ingest is fine. There are no drop frames or anything like that. So there's a bunch of people in Twitch saying that they're experiencing lag and desync and stuff. That's platform related. It's nothing to do with the ingest here. So we're sending up a signal to Twitch, and they're receiving it just fine. So that's all that we have control over. So the best I can offer is that if Twitch is struggling or something right now, this will be up on YouTube later today, as it always is. So, besides rivers, because I know you're working with rivers and done. You got the stuff going into 318.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any secret to say that there are bodies of water in Squadron 42, and you're working on the stuff for Squadron 42, some water related stuff for Squadron 42. We don't want to. But someday you're gonna be like, yes, that is water. And water is
a liquid.
done, and it's good, and like my time with water is complete, and you're gonna move on to something else. What if you had control over that? And Marcos, we know what Marcos watching. Marcos a big fan.
Está diciendo que además lo que están haciendo los ríos que puede que avance tecnológicamente hablando algo más interesante, pero que no quiere revelar nada todavía, pero que se está cociendo algo en torno a los ríos y los acantilados.
I want the planets to be realistic. So we currently have our climate, we have temperature and humidity. I want more detail, more control, more proceduralness, so that you can click a button with some randomized parameters and generate an entire unique planet just like that. So I want it to be, I want to say, well, this is the local sun on the solar system, and this is where the planet is, and these were the materials that were around when it was forming. So where are we likely to have continents? Where are we likely to have resources in the soil? What plants and rocks are likely to have come here? I'd like to, and I don't know if we'll ever be able to do this, but I'd like to do full terrain, like simulation from kind of like, you could do those cool simulations where you have a flat piece of terrain and you start introducing water droplets and it forms the kind of naturally occurring erosion. Because that's not what the rivers are. The rivers are finding where a river works given the current terrain. Because we can locally edit terrain with a terrain modifier, but we can't completely reshape the planets because of our procedural tech is relying on reading these fixed height maps that we have. We can tweak it here and there, but we can't reshape the whole thing currently. But it'd be really cool to do kind of like a full erosion sort of thing. Whether that's ever going to find its home in the PU though, in our kind of like our star system where we're finding, you know, hundreds of planets and stuff, I don't know. But that's the sort of thing I'd love to work on.
Yeah, it's hard because I mean, I don't think anybody's going to say we don't push things, push technologies and stuff in ways that maybe other games sometimes don't. But there are always considerations for the multiplayer aspect, for the MMO aspect for the server. There are things that we could easily do just for a single player.
Yeah, yeah.
When
If
you
you
can
have
control the perspective, you know
Yeah.
it's only being seen from
Exactly.
one
If
place.
you've, I mean, with the planets, the best example is if you've got one planet and you've got 20 gigs of hard drive space, you can go into so much detail and you can have so much locality. But actually, that's not where we need to push the boundaries. What we need to do is push the boundaries so that you can have hundreds and hundreds of planets in minimal data in one game download. And as well, if you wanted accurate height maps of Earth, that's terabytes, and you want the kind of level of resolution that we have on our planets on just, I mean, Earth or something smaller even. It's just not possible to read it from raw data. You can't do that. Like, you need to be streaming it in like Microsoft Flight Simulator does. And even that's a really, really, really beautiful game. But you go to the terrain and it's not the fidelity that you'd expect when you're walking around the terrain. It's a flying game. It's a plane game. It's designed to look good from above, and it really does. But yeah, that's not the problem we're trying to solve. We're trying to generate these beautiful, unique planets, and we're trying to do it in such a way where it's scalable, because we don't need a one-to-one replica of Earth that is down to the centimeter every single place. We need fully explorable planets, and we need many of them, and we need it to not take up several terabytes on each of our users' hard drives or SSDs.
Están hablando de la hora del realismo que ofrecen los planetas, que tampoco van a necesitar... O sea, una de las cosas que le gustaría trabajar al tipo es en erosión de los planetas, que ahora mismo pueden ajustar parámetros basados en lo que es lo que es dónde funcionarían los ríos, pero que le gustaría en el futuro poder hacer una tecnología que pues poder crear unos planetas mediante parámetros, definir materiales, dependiendo del sol en el que estén, que se generen de forma, digamos, pues supongo que procedural, ¿no? Y poder simular erosión. No solo un lugar donde parece que pueda encajar un río por cómo es el terreno, sino erosión, ¿no? Porque ahora mismo los planetas son fijos, pueden hacer algunos ajustes y tal, pero no pueden simular la erosión como tal, ¿no? Que es algo que le gustaría trabajar en eso. Luego está comentando también el hecho de que realmente pues en Star Citizen no podemos esperar la calidad que puede tener pues una simulación del planeta como pues un planeta como es la Tierra, porque eso ocuparía una barbaridad de espacio. Entonces están manejando unos números que consisten en utilizar la mínima cantidad de espacio posible para poder generar un montón de lugares de visitar, ¿no? Un montón de planetas. Y comenta también el hecho de que el juego está pensado para volar por encima, a pesar de que se ve bien a ras de suelo y tal, pero que está pensado para volar por encima y visitar algunos lugares, ¿no?
Screw those guys. So after Rivers, you want to work on spawning.
I want to work more on the spawning stuff, but I want to make it
like
more
spawning.
physicalized. That's one thing. I can
doesn't
work
like
on any
spawning?
number of things. I want to do lava and volcanoes.
Still like spawning, I can tell. It's like, yeah, I like spawning.
Yeah, lava volcanoes, that'd be cool. Like to do...
Say volcanoes?
I'd love to do them. I'm not saying I will. I'm saying I'd love to.
It's just like a.
I know that face.
It's like a vertical river out of a mountain. Just turn that on that side. And
I mean,
put it up out of
maybe for a lava river you could say that. It's like a slow-moving river with more VFX. But what if you want the lava to set? And what if you want to put on your like fire hazmat suit and walk through it? Or, there is tech and there is work and there is more features needed to just implement something that looks like an aesthetics change on the surface. Because it's all the gameplay. That's what like got with Rivers as well. When we got there, when we got it looking good, when we got it ready to release, the thing I was working on in the months leading up to putting out our first river was not making the rivers look better. It was the gameplay. It was making the Gravlev vehicles recognize it. It was the making the player drown if they take off their helmet underwater. It was the VFX not spitting up dirt and stuff when you fly your hoverbike over it. It was all of the gameplay and none of the beautification anymore, because there are so many facets to putting something in a sandbox world like ours. It's not a simple, well, here it is, it's done. You've got to think about everything the player can do to it, everything the player can do there.
Está diciendo que efectivamente pues está pensando en que le gustaría hacer volcanes y lava, pero bueno, que pues, sí, podríamos hacer la lava como si fuera un río moviéndose lento y demás, pero que al final hay fuego, hay varias cosas.
Hold on. Will, can I get in there? Will says
Está
we're
diciendo, mira,
definitely.
mira para la cámara y dice, dile a la gente que vas a hacer lava. Y dice, no es mi llamada para hacer, no es mi trabajo hacer eso, ¿no?
There's some days I just like to watch the world burn.
Oh, you do. Burning
Uh,
lava.
that's about it, man.
Yeah.
I know you gotta catch your train back.
I'm gonna catch my train.
You got your foldy bike. Is it
My
up?
foldy bike, my dad's old Brompton. That thing's 40 years old.
And it folds up like a suitcase.
It's great. I love it. Go buy a Brompton. Not sponsored.
It looked like something Inspector Gadget would have.
It looks like one of those monkey bikes. You know those like old timey circuses. They put monkeys on bikes. Not nice, but you know they're the tiny wheels and they're like really high up. It looks like that when you ride it. You look like a bit of a Norg. Norg? Narg. That's the word.
The views and opinions expressed by Will Hain do not represent those of Cloud Imperium Games, Robert Space Industries, or its subsidiaries.
You're saying that Robert Space Industries wants to put the monkeys back on the bikes because I said I don't.
All right, you're doing so well. Thank you, Will. Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. I'm gonna let
Thanks
you
for
go.
having me
Get
on,
back
Jared. It's
get
been
back to your
lovely
train. Everybody, stay tuned. We're gonna play a short video. We're going back in the Wayback Machine. We're gonna play a video from like 2017, 2018, I think. When we come back, we'll have a couple of our QA managers here from the UK studio, and we'll ask them, "Where the heck's my patch?" So stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Yalla nana, lost all my cargo back on Yalla nana, all my AUEC on Yalla nana. It stored my ship for me on Yalla.
Este es un vídeo muy antiguo. Bueno, muy antiguo no, tampoco, de 2018.
Sell it and double your AUEC.
Y parece que se viene ahora también. Se vienen ahora gente del equipo de control de calidad. Quality Assurance con la pregunta de ¿dónde coño está mi parche? Este es el centro del ciclo del agua, con lluvia, con nieve, con primavera, todo, ¿no? No me extrañaría, buena monkey. No me extrañaría, chavales.
It stored my ship for me on Yella. Can't get it back from Yella. Oh, Yella, nana. Oh, Yella, nana. Oh, Yella, nana. Oh, Yella, nana. Can't get it back from Yella.
Conons Go? Conons Go? Conons Go? Conon CSGO. Conon CSGO. I got it. Conon CSGO on Twitch said that was torture. What? Are you serious? I am shaming you on live Twitch right now. That was brilliant. That was Yella Yell by Steamed Rose and friends from a couple years ago. So before we get to the thing, I've wanted to start take a few minutes each show and showcase a little bit of what we got going on that makes up our set. I forgot.
Estáis hablando que el Twitch está medio jodido, que es lo que hay.
I have to
Ya
grab
lo aviso.
something because I was too busy watching Conon CSGO. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this thing here. Oh, there we go. This is a Horgon. And presenting a Horgon to someone means that you are seeking...
Sí, está petardeando lo del Twitch, a saco. Entiendo que a mí no me petardea.
Jamaharon. Phil, are you seeking Jamaharon? I know you are. I mean,
not
not
been
with
to
me.
Riser, so.
Okay, this is Yamaha. This is if you know. You know, and if you don't, you can Google. Turn safe search off.
Ah.
All right, definitely one of those shows.
Pues poco puedo hacer, chavales. Es lo que hay. Así vamos.
Joining us now for the back half are some members of our QA leadership team here in the UK studio. We've got Ray, and we've got Phil, and we got Rodolfo. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, we're good, thank you.
Yeah, very good. Good to be here.
I was trying to decide for real quick.
How are you going to get into
hi,
the
Tom.
318 stuff?
Tom just wandered into frame there.
How are you going to get into
hi,
the
Tom.
318 stuff?
Tom just wandered into frame there. We've gone red on the stream.
Sí, está diciendo que han ido en rojo en el stream. O sea, que tienen los datos y tal. Le he quitado lo de baja latencia a ver si tiene un poco de buffer, pero...
In the rage.
Twitch is having some problems. All right, so. We'll cut this out of the YouTube. We won't cut it out of the YouTube. We don't cut anything out for the YouTube. Let's introduce yourselves. The three of you, I don't think have ever been on CIG. You did the thing the last time and everything. Mm-hmm. But no, Phil and Rodolfo, I don't think you've ever been on CIG. For. So let's take some time and introduce you to the crew. We'll start with you since you're closest and you've done this before. Who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
So I am Ray Warner. I'm currently the pillar manager for QA Squadron 42 testing, and that is all I'm going to say about that.
Well, what's a pillar manager?
So I am primarily responsible for all of the project.
Bueno, este señor es el mandamás del equipo de Quality Assurance, de control de calidad del Escuadrón 42, y es todo lo que va a decir acerca de Escuadrón 42.
42 as far as QA is concerned, setting up how we're testing it, covering all of the systems that need to be covered by development as they iteratively develop the game, and yeah, pretty much trying to mirror what Phil's doing with the PU for Squadron in the kind of run-up to the inevitable release.
And Phil?
Yeah, I'm Phil Webster. I'm the PU pillar manager for QA. I look after the Persistent Universe and Star Citizen and oversee all of that testing for all our live releases. Don't ask me about 318 coming out, please.
Pues este señor sería el pilar del PU, de control de calidad, y dice, no me preguntéis sobre la 318, la liberación de la 318, por favor.
He was paying attention. And Rodolfo, who are you and
Es una putada, chavales, pero no podemos hacer nada. Yo creo que se les ha caído ya definitivamente. Ah, no.
I'm the Global Director of QA, and I'm running the different departments that we have in QA for the different games, and we also do some other things like automation, test automation into their games.
the global director of QA?
Yes, we have QA teams all around the world in different studios. They happen to be the managers that we have here, but the way we're structured, we also manage.
Rodolfo dice que es el mandamás, que es el que está hablando ahora, el mandamás a nivel global de los diferentes equipos de Q&A que ha repartido por el mundo, de control de calidad.
So, how many QA people do we have? Well, I don't, not necessarily a specific number.
We have
but
an important team, a big team that is growing. We're actively hiring right now, so it's a big team.
More than 10?
Way more than 10. Yeah.
Significantly more than 10.
Significantly more than 10. All right.
When I started, there was 14.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than that now.
You've been here for a while. You've been here
7 years.
I was going to say almost the same time I've been. When did you start?
February 2016, I think.
Okay, so I'm a bit older than you are as far as tenure. Here, but yeah, no, you've.
Yep.
So yeah, so what was that like? You come on and you come onto a project that's trying to build a persistent universe, but they're trying to do it live while they're building it.
Yeah, it was a daunting prospect, but one that I heartily.
Es imposible hacer así la movida, chavales. Es jodidamente imposible. Dice que el señor entró en 2016.
Was really eager to get my teeth into. I was a backer before I started working here. And Star Citizen is the game I've always wanted to play, and being able to be a very big part of that in the QA process was something that was very, very important to me.
Está diciendo que ser parte del proceso de control de calidad para el juego de esta decisión era algo muy importante para él, pero es que no podemos ver más, chicos.
And very exciting, and also being able to build a department pretty much from such a small base to what it needs to be and what it is now, and making it a department where people can come and have fun whilst they're working. You hear a lot of tales.
¿Qué le vamos a hacer? Solo meten por Twitch.
From other studios and places, not naming no names or anything, but you hear like horror stories of what it's like to be QA. And we want to make sure that no one ever felt that way when they came to work here, and we pride ourselves on that fact.
I will share a horror story. I won't name names.
Pero creo que es petada en general de Twitch, ¿no? O sea...
But I was at a studio once where during the studio had multiple buildings, and we were in a building that had a different passkey than the building where all the developers were, and we were not allowed access to that building. We were not allowed to go to the same commissary. We were not allowed to go to the same thing. And during
No... A ver, ahora mismo solo me están viendo 50 personas en el canal. O sea, no va bien Twitch. Tiene que haber más gente que lo esté petardeando. O sea, es algo...
during the Christmas party, the holiday party, they rented out a big, huge banquet hall at some hotel or whatever. And when we got there, there was a cordoned off corner behind little like little stanchions.
De todas formas está diciendo que... Hostia.
And customer service and those non-developer.
Está diciendo que tienen en rojo ellos el tema del Twitch. O sea que... Sí, se la ha vuelto a cortar. Está comentando una de las cosas que decía, que a la hora de formar el equipo de control de calidad, que bueno, que hay otras historias de por ahí, de otros equipos de controles de calidad, pues que como de alguna manera como que no son tratados igual que el resto de de personas en los desarrollos de videojuegos. Al nivel de que no se tiene la misma consideración a nivel puesto de trabajo. Y que eso es algo que querían evitar aquí en Climbing Games.
This wall that you have to break through at the end of a development cycle to get your games to the public and start making money. And I think like the progression of streaming services and things like Steam, Epic, and all of these new game things that are making it so available for people to release things like Greenlight or betas or pre-release games is kind of closing that gap, and it's a lot better. I think a lot of the time with the QA studios in games industries, it's getting better. It's getting to a point where it's no longer visioned this way, and it's very much part of the development. But one thing about SIG that I can say since joining in also 2016 is we came in and it was like that. The attitude was very much already, these guys need to help us make this game because we're making a universe, like it needs to be iteratively tested. It can't be done by a developer passed on because we'd never get patches out. And let's not talk about 3.18, but it would be so much worse if we didn't have such influence on the development team.
We have the dedicated, the teams, and there's a section in the studio. And I thought it's a bunch of QA stuff. But we also, one of the things that I really like that we do here is we also have embedded QA. People that are sitting at the same desks, in the same seats, right next to designers and engineers and stuff, so that you can just poke over and be like, look at my screen. This is the thing happening right here.
That's a super important thing. It's something that we really missed in lockdown. Obviously, as everybody moved into that. That remote situation, we didn't have the ability to just kind of tap a developer on the shoulder and be like, this is a bug. But now that we're back in office and we have this and we're growing the team again, and we have so many embedded positions that are working alongside dev, it's super important, not only for those kind of, look at this bug, this is so broken, can you fix it? And that kind of on the fly, yes, done, fixed, submitted, get stuff out faster, but also the relationship.
A ver, están hablando
processes that
de...
we carry in of visibility across development. So when people are making these big features or creating new planets, adding new rivers, putting in a volcano, for example, they have people next to them who can say, there are limitations to the way that you can do this. This is what's happening when you spit it out. One of the things that we see with planets quite a lot when they do reworks on planets is terrain. Rain will shift the height, and none of the bases will. So you have to have people who are there to able to go to those bases and know this kind of thing and the history of these kind of updates and help development get past those, especially with the turnaround that we see. And it's like the growth and the turnaround that we see in SIG. It's so hard sometimes to maintain developer loyalty to a very specific feature. It just rolls through so many people that we need this kind of point of information. So it's really, really helpful.
One of the most common misconceptions about QA that I've encountered over the years is that it's just playing video games all day. It's just playing video games all day. Watching the yellow yell during the thing, Ray, without missing a beat, he goes, this game is sometimes. And it's because you're not playing the version of the game that even the backers are playing. You're playing the most broken
Se corta
and
igual.
incomplete
No, no, es lo mismo, se corta igual, o sea, da igual. No, no importa eso, o sea, es un tema de la subida que tienen ellos y tal. Están comentando sobre el tema de control de calidad. Sí, o sea, es que está en plan... se corta muchísimo, tío. Es lo que hay, o sea, ¿qué le vamos a hacer? Están comentando que una de las cosas que hace el control de calidad, pues lo que cosas que tiene bueno, la distribución que tienen ahora es que vuelven a estar otra vez juntos, comparten escritorio, bueno, comparten espacio, más que escritorio, comparten espacio con ingenieros, desarrolladores y demás, que siempre se pueden atender, se pueden echar una mano, se pueden pasar ahí al lado y pueden decir, oye, mira lo que pasa en la pantalla, ¿no? Pasa esto, tal. O también que a la hora de que la gente intenta hacer alguna movida, como volcanes, como tal, lo que sea, pues eh, hay como una forma de también de recordar las limitaciones de lo que se puede o no se puede hacer, de lo que es viable, no lo que es viable de hacer en el juego.
Fine. So there are elements of playing the game,
Yeah,
and I don't want
say
to.
it's like it's a job, you know. Testing isn't just playing, and there can be laborious and monotonous parts to it. But that's not to say we can't have fun and enjoy the game as well, because like I say, I was a backer and I enjoyed playing the game a lot. Like I'm a role player, and I like to role play in Star Citizen. If you ever meet a guy called Stranger in there and he asks you to do something, he might have a decent mission for you to do.
Listen out for the voice changer.
The sandbox nature of the game, you can make so much fun with what's there. It's crazy how much you can do. And you can have so much fun, and we do in work as well. But yeah, it's a hard job, and we have a very important part to play, and it's recognised here at SIG, which is brilliant and fantastic for us.
Well, one of the other things I wanted to talk about along those lines is that when we talk to a lot of people, QA often comes up as a tremendous point of entry. It's a great place to learn every aspect of game development because every aspect of game development needs QA. There's no aspect that just comes out fully formed and working. It's like so through QA you can learn just about any discipline that's involved in this. But the flip side of that can sometimes make it seem like it's not a career in and of itself. That it is only a thing to get you in the door, and then you are meant to leave it. But some of my we were talking about this earlier. Some of my favorite people. Shout out to Vinny Sinatra. And when I have tremendous respect for the folks who have determined that this aspect of game development is important, and it is valid, and it is essential to the creation of successful creation of any video games. Global head of QA. I'm just going to sit back there and let my guys talk. He's back there like Don Corleone. Like,
well, I shouldn't even be here. You just pull me out from the backstage, right?
Talk to me about the decision to make this a career, to not. Not that there's anything wrong with it. The people who started in QA. When I'm not talking.
We have a name for people like Phil and I called QA lifers, and you get people who enter QA through several different means. Some people pursue the games industry. Some people want to play games, and this idea that it's just playing games, like this is what pulls a lot of people into QA. But there's a specific skill set that comes really natural to a lot of QA testers, and it's the idea of problem solving and being interested in those problems and finding those solutions. And it's a real passion for that drives people to continue a career in QA rather than chasing development. One of my favorite aspects, and don't get me wrong, is seeing the development of people's careers. They come into QA, and whether they go up in QA or whether they go up in development or production, it's all amazing to watch people grow and gain knowledge for the product. But you get some people who are just wired to find the problem and make that problem worse, and then tell people why it's so broken and then get that fixed. And it was a particular passion that I found when I moved into QA. And then obviously as I got better and honed that skill in my 10 years that I was at Sony prior to coming to CIG, it became less about how I can branch out and become part of this, the creative force that make games, do the art or do the program or doing the code, and become someone who gets to see everything. Because that's what you get to see in QA. You are one of the few departments who see literally everything that gets put into a game.
Claro, está comentando el hecho de que dice, no creo que eso me interprete mal, pero bueno, a mí me encanta ver a la gente cómo progresa y cómo pasan por QA y luego pues ascienden a otros puestos de trabajo, van a otros puestos de trabajo relacionados con el juego de desarrollo, arte, lo que sea, ¿no? Que es como un paso puente para meterse en el desarrollo de videojuegos. Pero también una de las cosas buenas que tiene QA es que te permite ver todo el desarrollo, que es los pocos departamentos en los videojuegos que te permite ver el global, te permite ver absolutamente todo lo que se está desarrollando en el juego, ¿no?
Way, because you cannot just find all the bugs in an infinite universe like what we have just by trying to go through it. It will take you forever, so you need to do it in a certain way.
Did you just compare yourself to Einstein?
No, at all. At all.
So yeah.
Don't know what you're
So
talking
No, I was talking about the experimental physicists, not the theoretical ones. That's a completely different thing.
yeah. So folks on Twitch still seems to be having some trouble. We got some QA people here. Tom, go ahead and do an R_display1. Show me what the frame rate is, and delete the user folder. What else can we do?
Turn it off and on again.
Yeah, turn the stream on and off again. Like I said, folks, whatever's going on with Twitch will be up on YouTube shortly after if you want to see the rest of the conversation. It's beyond being this, we've turned this into a QA recruitment thing. And by the way, everybody,
Please apply for QA, by the way.
Yeah, you can go to cloudimperiumgames.com/jobs. There are QA positions in all 5 studios around the world, including Montreal. So check that out. There's a fundamental thing about the way some brains work that make people great mechanics or great IT people or great QA and stuff like that. How do you? Does that apply to QA? Am I right?
Absolutely.
Am I barking up the
I
right?
mean, that's what I mean when I say things like, there's got to be a very specific mindset to get into QA and remain good at the job. It's about problem solving. And when I say problem solving, it's not about being presented the problem and finding the solution. It's about finding the problem, and that's very much what you're talking about. It's about seeing a piece of software or seeing a feature or seeing an element of gameplay and thinking to yourself, I mean, our backers are great examples of this, but how are people going to come in and ruin this? Because they will. It's the first thing they want to do. They want to find easier ways to do things or better ways to get things, ways to exploit the code, ways to exploit the gameplay. And we have to approach our testing methodologies with this in mind.
Right, and their faces drop, and they're like,
¡Wow!
Oh, yeah.
Vaya salto. Bueno, está diciendo, yo creo que voy a cambiar esto otra vez. Están diciendo que a la hora de trabajar en Q&A, pues que efectivamente, pues dice Discord, bueno, sé que hay gente que tiene una mentalidad para grandes mecánicos, para otra gente que tiene pues la mentalidad, ¿no? La forma en la que funciona la cabeza de las personas, pues funciona diferente y que pues para trabajar en Q&A y ser bueno realmente en el trabajo, pues hay que tener una capacidad de efectivamente poder volver atrás y encontrar el puto problema. Hay que encontrar la capacidad de tener esa facilidad de encontrar problemas, de tal, que es algo que hacen los backers también, que hacemos los backers, ¿no? Y que hay que tener pues esa cabeza, ¿no? Para poder darle la vuelta a las cosas, ¿no? Esa mentalidad de buscar problemas y no tanto solucionarlos, sino como que rascar para encontrarlos, ¿no?
QA say is someone's going to get it and not take over it and then fly around the address and they're like, no, that's not possible. We've de-physicalized all of the flaws. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And within, 10 minutes of the release, someone had clipped through the seal and landed in the seat, got in the seat and started flying around in the address. And it's like, well, we told you. So, but yeah, that always comes up against that kind of, we've done it, this is it, we're going out live, this is it, PTU release, damn it, we're going to have to go back to square one and figure out how to make this work. And it happens constantly. But there's a great satisfaction in I told you so.
How about you, Phil?
well, Ray totally stole
I apologize.
my one
You
that I was going to use. So I'll just say about, Ray's particular project in Squadron 42, redacted. So unfortunately, I can't tell you mine.
Redacted.
Well, you guys have worked at other projects, though. What's What about you, Rodolfo? You've got a story of how you don't make it to global head of QA
No,
without having
I
to
had
crush
some stories
some
yeah,
feelings
from
some-
long ago from other projects. So I don't know if I can share that, but yeah, we do have. I do remember, for example, when my very first job in QA, when I was a tester many years ago, I was testing a mobile game from iOS, and they were pretty sure that it was working perfectly. It was a simulator physics, so in some sense similar to this. You know the Incredible Machine? Do you remember the old school games? Well, we made a remake back then in Disney for mobile. And now I never try, to try to stress it a little bit. So when you start stressing it, you saw that, all the cables and things start wobbling around and you can just do whatever you want. And it's the kind of thing, but no one is going to do that. Well, we did, so maybe the players will do as well. And you always have that kind of discussions, right? Like they only expect people to use it as the intended feature is. And actually players, if they are allowed to do it, they will do it eventually. Yeah. So yeah.
To kick it while it's down. That is their prerogative.
We're almost out of time, but I want to ask you about the other thing, the horror story that's for the developers, whatever. But talk to me about can't repro. Talk to me about the reports that no matter what you do, like you've just beat your head against this thing for days.
I mean, the SIG specifically, one of the big problems that we have is
Pues menos mal que más o menos se puede entender de lo que está hablando la gente, por lo que se dedica, ¿no? Que es Q&A, y que no están haciendo algo más tocho.
Players, potentially in the future 100 players in a server at any one time, and there are things that happen in the back end when you put that many people doing random things. As we say, people get destructive when they play video games, and when you put 100 of them in and let them do what they want, it's very, very hard to replicate that in a controlled environment, and that is fundamentally the baseline for QA. We need to be in a controlled environment so we can find those steps, find the cases of how it happens, when it happens, what you need to do to make it happen. And when you put a PTU game out and we get 50 crashes, or we get the elevators killing people, everybody knows this, right? Like we put it into a game, we get 10 people into the game, we say, just ride elevators for a day and tell us what happens, and like, it's fine, it runs great, and you're like, why? Why is it running great? And it's really, really hard to replicate, and you can do it in the PTU, but you can't do it in a dev build, so you can't get the information you require, and it's super frustrating. It really is.
And we have to deal with like multiple builds a day, whereas the servers will be up for days at a time with this amount of people on it. And so it's the soak time and stuff as well that we just can't replicate, because we have to keep on iterating and getting the fixes in, making sure they do work at a base level so that we can get it out to the backers and so they can start playing it and enjoying it as soon as possible.
Yeah, and then you get Rob Johnson, who comes in and goes, oh yeah, I'll fix that. And it's done, and it's like, I've been looking at this for a week.
Is a legend.
Yeah,
oh,
Rob Johnson,
absolutely.
Shout out Rob Johnson.
One of my favorite stories, if you guys started in 2016, this predates your time here. It was in Arena Commander back. It was just before the PU had launched, and there were Hornets that were just randomly exploding. You'd just be flying around. You'd be in free fly, no combatant, nobody shooting at you, and just occasionally was different. And they struggled forever to find the common denominator. And eventually, what it came down to was that the default loadout at the time had a flashlight that hung on the belt of the outfit, and it was physicalized. And depending on the maneuvers you did and the G's that you pulled, the flashlight would beat against the inside of the cockpit and do 1 point of damage. 1 point of damage.
Amazing.
1 point of damage.
Amazing.
And so it entirely depended on how you flew and how crazy you flew. But once they figured that out, I was just like, why is that like?
That reminds me now of a horror story of QA. Leading up to one of the Citizen Cons and one of the demos we were doing, and we found that going around one of the planets that we shown off the first time, there were patches of invisible collision that were around the place. So we warned everyone, don't land here, don't land here. There's a chance it could just ruin the entire demo and blow up the ship, and we'd have to restart again. And we said, just make sure, don't land. It's like, then the instruction was to go and land, and obviously you have to paid instruction, and we were on the edge of our seats the entire time. Obviously, that was fixed by the time it was released, but for the whole demo purposes,
It was terrifying.
It was-
terrifying.
It's dangerous. And Chris Roberts goes, "Hey, go!" He goes, "Go over there, Vinny, and look at that thing." And Vinny looked at me. I was upstairs. I'm like, and he's looking at me like in that moment we became soul brothers. Like
I've seen that face before. Yeah.
Sorry, and yeah, it was just like, yeah, it's. I almost did my Sierra impression. That was bad.
Vince,
All right.
Vince has gone through it. He's, you know, make this sniper shot. Best make it.
Yeah, the stories of QA and demos are, yeah. Still talk to Glenn and them.
Good old
about it.
Glenn. Can't jump.
Yeah, Glenn still shakes. Glenn still has the tremor. All right, so that's it, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us during this week's Star Citizen Live. Rivers and Tex and Bugs, oh my. It's the name of the Twitch ingest. So we'll take a look at that and see if that's something on our end and see if we can't have that resolved before next week. If you haven't, tune into this week's ISC. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Qué puta locura. Ni siquiera hemos podido ver el resumen, chavales. Hostia, tío. Qué putada, tío. Shit, man.
Faces drop.
Terrific progress. So check that out on ISC next week. Millions of massive changes and improvements coming to.
Best make it.
Yeah, the stories of QA and demos are. Yeah, still talk to Glenn and them.
Good old
about it.
Glenn. Can't jump.
Yeah, Glenn still shakes. Glenn still has the tremor. All right, so that's it, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us during this week's Star Citizen Live. Rivers and Tex and Bugs, oh my. It's the name of the Twitch ingest. So we'll take a look at that and see if that's something on our end and see if we can't have that resolved before next week. If you haven't, tune into this week's ISC. All kinds of massive changes and improvements coming to mining gameplay in the upcoming Alpha 3.19. And then next week, we check back in with John Griffiths and the Sandbox team for the current Whitebox progress of the new underground facilities. They're going to take you on a whole tour of one of the enormous configurations. They've got 17 rooms, 5-6 levels underground. It's pretty cool. These things that we introduced in concept at CitizenCon are already going through white box, getting into gray box and stuff. They're making some terrific progress. So check that out on ISC next week. For Star Citizen Live, that was Ray, and that was Phil, and that was Rodolfo, and I'm Jared. And thanks everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Ahora sí. Vale, nos está diciendo que en el siguiente Inside Star Citizen de esta semana nos van a hablar de las instalaciones bajo tierra, que tiene como 17 habitaciones, plantas para abajo, que es un monstruo. Así que eso es lo que vamos a ver en el Inside de la semana que viene, chavales. Vaya bostezo más rico. Y aparte de esto, pues... estaban hablando de algunas historias de bugs y tal. Nada relevante, la verdad, del equipo de control de calidad. Bueno, lo que sí que tener en cuenta el equipo de control de calidad, pues que para la people que quiera echar currículum y trabajar en Cloud Imperium Games es una buena manera de entrar y luego de poder hacer otras cosas. Es algo que recuerdan siempre y que acaban de comentar ahora, y que está ahí la posibilidad pues de echar currículum, que buscan en cloudimperiumgames.com, pues está ahí el tema de para quien quiera buscar curro. Vamos a ver qué está pasando aquí en el asunto. A ver. Un momentillo porque dejo esto ya... Un momentillo porque dejo esto ya... ¡Opa! En doble.